Hey everyone, welcome back again. This is the Two Catholic Dudes podcast. This is episode number 8, and my name is Ryan Klaus.
And my name is Danny Cleary.
And as always, we are not priests, we are not theologians, we are just two Catholic dudes, and we're talking about our faith.
Awesome. And today, I'm actually a little nervous about today's episode. I don't feel as confident, but I think that's okay. I don't know how you're feeling about it either, but we're going to dive into talking about faith and the secular world and how those two have kind of met and clashed in our own experience and our own opinions. So this will be a lot of our opinions today, and so we hope that you'll enjoy the ride.
Yeah, and talking about the secular world, there's going to be a lot to talk about. We haven't shared a lot about what's going on in our lives, though, and I think we'll take just a minute and just share. We're coming into September right now, and that's the start of the school year for a lot of people. We're not in school because we're old. But it's kind of a new season for a lot of things, and so you have, I think, confirmation starting up for you.
Yeah, I just started our confirmation preparation this year. For this year, we have. Confirmation is a 2-year process. And yeah, we have our first class. We had our first class last week, and we're going to do our second class in just a couple days. And it's funny because I've noticed that the topic we're going to talk about today kind of affects the groups of teens as they kind of come in. It's very different. We'll get into it, but they're very hesitant. They're very shy. And I just try to be on fire about my faith no matter what the topic of the confirmation class is, and excited to be there and everything else. So
yeah,
but I'm excited about this year. It'll be a challenge for sure, but I'm also, I'm sure
every year it's a different, you have different groups, and so it changes from year to year based on the kind of kids that you have in each program.
Well, and the numbers differ too a lot. Sometimes you have really, really huge classes of people, and sometimes they're a little smaller. And right now, I'm actually dealing with the smallest amount of leaders that I've ever had before. Okay. So it's challenges in different ways.
Yeah, it changes. You have to be able to be flexible and change with the variety of instances of the groups that you get.
Right. So I'm just putting my trust in God and knowing that He'll provide what I need and give me the words that I need to inspire. So. Yeah,
I'm starting up. I mean, we didn't really break for the summer, but my choirs are kind of revamping as this school year begins. And I think I know a lot of churches do break for the summer. Ours don't, but this is actually an interesting time in our choirs because we're struggling for members. I'll be honest, we're really low. So if you do go to our church and you are looking for that call, we need you. But again, it's being able to adapt, and so I'm trying to find ways, even though we only have a few members, to still provide great music and still be able to lift people up with what we do. So
sure,
being flexible with that. One final story of a funny thing that just happened this morning. I went to the allergist. I get allergy shots, and last time I went in, I had a reaction, and so they're like, "Yeah, you got to meet with the allergist and do a whole appointment." So I go in, and they're like asking me all kinds of questions about how it went down. My episode. They're like, "What happened?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, like welts and stuff." And I was like super hot. My ears were really red. They were bright red. My chest was all red. My heartbeat was elevated. I felt like my blood pressure was elevated. They're like, "Oh my gosh, like what did you do? Did you shoot epinephrine? Did you call the doctor?" I was like, "No, I just hung out on the couch for 30 minutes." They're like,
"Nice, bro.
Are you kidding me?"
Real good.
They're like, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I worked out 2 hours later. So they weren't very happy with me.
Guess you were fine.
I was fine.
Yeah. Wow. And then I guess we'll also do a special shout out today to my brother and our friend, your friend, my friend, Brendan and Aaron. They just got engaged to be married. And we're super excited for them. Ryan and I got to be secret agents for the engagement and take photos and stuff with them. And it was a really incredible evening, and awesome to see them get ready to enter into the sacrament together. So we're excited.
Yeah. Congrats, guys.
All right, so let's get into this faith in the secular world. You had a thought when we were talking off camera that I really thought was good about why you think that society. We were talking about instant gratification, and maybe that's why faith is dwindling, honestly, in today's world.
Yeah, our society is changing rapidly, as you guys know. If you look at technology too, what do they say? It's 4 times itself every year, and it keeps growing and growing exponentially.
Oh yeah,
Our society is kind of changing at that rate as well. You look at when Vatican II was going on in the 60s, or shortly after Vatican II, our society has changed dramatically from that point.
It's like another world.
It's a completely new world, and has our church caught up to that? We can talk about that in just a moment. But like, what we feel as a society is everything is immediate now with our cell phones. It's amazing, like the power of the technology that we have in our pockets. What do they say, that the phone that we have in our pockets is more powerful than all the computers that it took to get us to the moon?
Yeah, or something like that.
It's
the
wild.
Technology in your pocket is like more powerful than that, or something like that.
It's absolutely wild, but it's getting us less dependent on our own knowledge and willpower, and being able to think for ourselves. And when we have all of this readily available on the internet, I was thinking the other day, it's like, I don't know anyone's phone number anymore. What would happen if I had to call somebody, if I lost my phone and I needed to call? Like, I barely remember my dad's phone number. The phone numbers that I really remember are like my childhood best friends.
Their house
phone numbers. So like,
people don't have house phones anymore.
Yeah, if they still have a phone, I could call their parents at their house phone. But like, I don't know any other phones because I rely everything on my phone. I
know people that don't even know their own phone number.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's crazy.
Like maps, everyone just uses Waze or Google Maps or whatever now.
Nobody's like unfolding the thing and like, let
me. I had a Thomas guide, I think, when I first got a car.
Tom.
Or there was that was before that even. It was literally just like
I forgot how old
it was a book of maps of an area. But like MapQuest was a thing too. You would have to print out the directions of where you were going.
Yeah.
And now everything is in your phones. And so our society is moving towards instant gratifications, not just in technology and our phones, but like everything. You want stuff and you're able to get it right now.
Yeah, you can do it. Like, you want to know something, you Google it right there. You can do it in your pocket. You want to buy something, you can do it right. There's an app for that.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk to somebody, you send them a text, whatever. Like, and it's an awesome thing, but it's also, I think it has shaped society a little bit. And when I think it pulls away from I think it does pull people away from faith a little bit, because being involved with your faith is not an instant gratification situation. It's a journey every day to be more like Christ and to be, reaching for who God's calling us to be. It's a process and a journey. It's not just like an instant, okay, boom, I'm holier, I'm holy now, I'm with God now. It's a choice we make every day and a process of growing constantly. And I think that in a world where you want everything now, it does hurt it a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's honestly the opposite. It's the polar opposite of instant gratification.
Yeah.
Like, you have to take time and discern on how God's working in your life. And you have to be able to sit in silence. How many people can comfortably sit in silence and just think and pray these days? You're like, and I struggle with it too.
I'm the worst about it.
Just to sit and pray silently. It's uncomfortable because we always have to have something coming at us.
Right.
We have to, even just sitting, like, so you say you get your car washed or something and you're just waiting the 5 minutes that it takes them to dry it. Like, back in the day, what did you do? You brought a book, or you just sat and just like, or God forbid you talk to the person sitting next to you, right?
Yeah, God forbid.
Right. And so now it's just everyone's heads are down in their phones. You see it at dinner with families together. Everyone is just on their phones. It's like, can we look up and realize that we're missing out on everyday life?
Right. And this is something like I'm one of the worst about it. Like, I get so trapped in my phone. It's something that I try to work on, but like, I get so wrapped up in it.
And I call him out on it. I go, I'll ask him a question, and somebody else is in the room. I'm like, oh wait, Danny's not here right now.
Yeah. It's tough. And because it's a lot of the time, like, there's so many other things that you're doing, and like, you're not present with where you are in that moment. And I think that comes, the phone and being so connected, which is a good thing, but it's a bad thing. Is it takes away from where you are right then and there, because when you have your phone, you can be connected to so many other different places at one time, and you're missing where you are in that moment. You know what I mean? But yeah, and go ahead.
I think it makes us believe that we can multitask better than we can, because the phone you can open up 4 different apps at the same time. You can have them in all the corners of the screen on your computer or whatever. humans are not made to multitask, but we're just inundated with so many different things. You're like, oh, I got an email. Oh, let me go back to the social media feed I was looking at. Oh, wait, now something else popped up. I got a text message. And it's like your brain is just all over the place. And again, it's that instant gratification. I can do this. I can do that. I can do this. And then all of a sudden when you go to mass, you're like, wait, I just have to sit here and I can't be on my phone. I can't do anything else. That's hard for people.
Right.
That's really hard to make that transition.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's tough. I think that the other part of the world today that's kind of pulling people away faith-wise and hurting people's ability to rely on their faith is I think that the world is more now not what can I do for someone else, but what can the world do for me? You know, like we've become kind of a selfish society in a lot of that aspect. Like everyone's worried about them and what they're going to do. And we're not worried about, who anyone else. We're like, we are always first. And I think that is damaging to a faith when your faith is, supposed to be about who can we help, who can we be there for, who can we bring in, what community. We're so worried about the community of one that it could damage that,
Yeah. I mean, look at, we talked about social media. Social media is a huge topic. I'm sure we're going to keep coming back to it. Sure. But when anytime somebody's going to post a picture on social media, whether it's yourself or your friend, and you're in it, what's the first thing?
Tag me, bro.
Tag me in it, or you look at that picture before they post it, and you don't care how anybody else looks. You only need to make sure that you look good, and you're like, that photo's fine. They're like, everybody else's eyes are closed. You're like, yeah, but I look great, so go ahead and post that.
Right.
But yeah, we've kind of become a society about me, and that's not without exception. But we're drawing more towards where everything is drawing in on itself, because again, we don't go out as much. We stay in. We're in the box on our computers, on our phones. Again, when you go out into the world, you still stay on your phone. You're not talking You're not talking to the person next to you at the car wash. And so we're drawn into ourselves and it's about me always.
Well, yeah, and I think that is what affects like mass attendance, because at least I've noticed that. I can only speak to my own parish, is that mass attendance is down. And, like I'm saying, I'm trying to be honest and authentic here. Mass attendance is down for sure. And maybe that has to do with the fact that like when people go to mass, they're like, I'm not really getting anything out of it. Or like, there's so many other things that I'd rather do, or there's so many other things that I could give my time to and stuff. And I think that is affecting when people go to mass because they're not, it's what I'm not entertained. What am I getting out of it? And we talked about this when we talked about our things that happen in mass. I touched on a little bit about how mass isn't about us, but like the world and society has made everything about everything is about us. That's damaging, how people go to mass and stuff.
Yeah, when you go to mass, again, it's not about you. It's about the community. It's about
God. It's about worship.
It's about God and worship there. And so it's about what can I give? It doesn't seem like, especially if you're just attending and you're part of the congregation, like what am I, I'm not in the choir. I'm not an usher. I'm not a Eucharistic minister. I'm not the priest up there. I'm just sitting here. What am I supposed to do? And again, we're kind of a society about being entertained, and you're like, well, if I'm not being entertained and I don't have a part in this, why am I here? But it's, we're called to pray.
Yeah.
As the mass goes on, we're called to pray.
Be responsive. Yeah.
Be responsive, participate. You're called to sing along with the songs, respond when you're supposed to respond, and pray. Like there's certain points in the mass that are collects where you take all of the prayers of the congregation in that moment and you offer them up to God.
Right.
And it's our duty and our responsibility to be praying and present and not just space out.
Yeah.
Or drawing or making little crosses on Palm Sunday, or whatever, all the things that keep us distracted and busy during Mass.
Absolutely. Well, and just to change gears slightly, but stay on the same vein, is I've noticed it at my confirmation classes and stuff with the teens is they won't attempt to answer any questions about faith or anything like that because I think they're afraid to sound stupid. They're afraid to be wrong.
I'll be honest. we were afraid to start this podcast, but because we were afraid to sound stupid, we're afraid to be wrong. We're afraid to say something that's heretical, that doesn't stand up to the catechism. And that's a scary thing. And we're like, we don't want people to call us out. We don't want people to be angry. We don't want like our priest, our pastor to be like, hey, I don't think you guys should be doing this because you're not saying what we stand for. But you can't be afraid of those things. You can't be afraid to be silenced. You got to speak your mind.
Well, yeah, I think so, because it's like if everyone is too afraid to say anything, like then everyone just goes back on their phones.
And and this goes for anything in life, especially like say you want to start a YouTube channel, and in whatever field you're in, but you're having second thoughts, and you're like, well, I'm not an expert in my field. If everybody waited till they were a quote unquote expert in their field, there would be no YouTube channels, because at what point in your life are you an expert on anything? Is there a check mark? I did this, I did the, okay,
I made it. I'm an expert.
I'm an expert. We're always continuing to grow. And so we just decided to start this because we're not experts, but I think we're going to learn and grow together through this podcast. And there'll be things that we say that aren't right. And please leave it in the comments and let us know what we're doing wrong. But you can't be afraid. You got to just be able to go out there and do it.
Right. And that's the thing, is I think that because going back to what I was saying, because society is so based upon like how everyone looks and your image and how you are perceived in the world, a lot of these kids are afraid to say they know anything about their faith, because like maybe knowing something about your faith is lame. Or, you know what, here's something that just came into my mind. I remember that, now Bishop Barron talks a lot about the biggest growing denomination of religion is the nuns.
Yeah,
not the sister nuns,
right,
but like nun as in they check a box of I have no affiliation. And so like, honestly, I felt like when you were younger, like everybody went to church, like everybody had some kind of a faith, like it was more common, I think, at least. And now it's following Jesus and being someone who like is outwardly expressive about their faith and lives their faith and says like, no, I am a believer in Christ, and this is how I live my life, or I try to live my life with that in mind. We are the uncommon person.
Yeah,
now.
We're like the outliers at this point.
Yeah, it's even not necessarily like, not that there's people that are more like, no, I don't believe in that, but there's more people that are just like, I don't really care whether it is or not. Like, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter to me. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. Doesn't matter. The people that are actively living for Jesus, and they're actually saying like practicing their faith and things like that. We're the uncommon. And
this has only happened in 20, 30 years.
Right.
The Catholicism is 2,000 years old. So, but again, it shows the sign that everything is ramping up at incredible speeds, and we have to be able to adapt. Again, I think the Catholic Church is a very slow working machine. Everything works really slowly, and not saying that's a bad thing, but at what point do you need to catch up a little bit? I feel you 100%. Like, it's hard because it's like, the tradition is so rooted in our Catholic faith, and we have to, be true to that and be true to the teachings of the church. But I think there's a lot of things that we can do, outside of the realm of maybe mass that like could go out and get people to be wanting to come back and be involved in their faith. Something that's on my heart right now to share that's just coming into my mind is I think a lot of the things right now in the world too is mental health and things like that are like the most prevalent they've ever been. Like, more people are suffering from it, more people are speaking out about it, more people are talking about it. Like, people are searching for some kind of restoration, fulfillment, and peace in their lives, like I think that a lot of people are stressing, especially like people, in their 20s and 30s are stressing so bad about life. How am I going to make a living? How am I going to survive? How am I going to make rent? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And that becomes all consuming, and there's really no place for them to put it. So they just suffer from this deep anxiety, or people are struggling with depression or whatever else. Like, so many people in the world today are dealing with that. And I think that's also a result of
all the different things we've been talking about.
Yeah, I think it's the result of all those things. But now and depression and anxiety and all these mental issues have always been a thing. But I think because of where technology and our society has gone, they've ramped up. But also because people have moved away from the church, there's nowhere for them to go. There's no one for them to put their faith in, and no one for them to help them get out of that rut.
Well, I think it comes down to as well is our loss of being able to connect on a human level with people. Going back to the phone thing is when you're struggling, whatever, we don't have the tools, or a lot of people don't have the tools anymore. They've forgotten how to reach out to a person. You know, I know a lot of people, they're like, I don't like picking up the phone, just text me. You know, and like, man, like, that's so, you're missing that human connection and being able to like, it's easy for someone to text you and say like they're there for you, but to have someone like be there present and say like, no, I am here and I will literally hold you in my arms and be there for you. Like there's a big difference there.
Correct. Yeah. And you know, if someone's depressed and there isn't that person right there, they're going to just turn again to social media or the internet, and they're just going to keep going down that spiral.
Yeah.
And
get lost in the scrolling feed.
And without that foundation, coming back to church each Sunday and having that faith in their lives, what are they going to have? What's going to pull them out of it?
Yeah. So like, I think that it's what we as the church can do is try to be more inviting to the people that are struggling, to welcome them, because I think that nowadays, with the way that the world is and the way the world goes, is I've heard a lot of times like, oh, that person's like a church person, and church people are getting labeled as like, sometimes negatively, as like, oh, these stuck up people that think that they're better than everybody else, right? At least I've experienced that, where like people will be like, oh, you work for a church, so you must think that you're better than everybody. And when in reality, you know, Catholics and Christians, like the beauty of believing in Christ and having a home in Jesus and an identity in our faith is that we are absolutely not perfect, and we can embrace that. Yeah. Right? You know what I mean? Because like Jesus' sacrifice was not because we were perfect and ready to go. It was because we weren't. It was because we were the polar opposite of that.
Yeah.
But we can live in that weakness and strive to be better because we know we have Christ and his sacrifice and his love to get us through.
Awesome. I have a lot of ideas some ideas on how we can improve the actual, you know, our experience in church to help us move forward a little bit to help meet in the middle. But let's continue on our topic about what we can do outside of church, as you discussed. Like, what are we currently doing in our lives outside of our, you know, going to mass and doing all the things within our church world that can just showcase our faith, that can help other people grow in theirs?
I think you have to bring your faith into everything that you do. You know, I tell the story to my teens all the time is don't put God in a box. I think that a lot of the times when we talk about faith in the secular world, they're two separate things, right? That's the whole topic that we're talking about today. Is there's you when you're not at church, and there's you when you're at church. Even people that work for the church, even people that are people going to know that you're a believer in Christ if, you know, when they see you at the supermarket or when they see you wherever? I'll give you the example of, we've been talking personal life. I'll give you my personal. We've touched on it a little bit. I moonlight my secret obsession and my little hobby.
Obsession's a good word, but
obsession, my hobby, my other little thing that I do is I'm a professional wrestler. And like, you know, it's like a show, a live action combat show. And it's a really different world than the church. There's a lot of negative about it, but there's also a lot of positive about it that I found. And when I got into the world of wrestling, you play like a character, like you know what I mean. You play a different character as part of the show. You have a shtick or a character that you're playing. Mm-hmm. And when I was thinking about like, who am I going to be? Who's this character going to be? I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to bring my faith into this world where faith is non-existent. Like there is no, like I am the absolute minority in the world of wrestling as far as like someone who like follows God and stuff.
Yeah.
So like my wrestling name is Danny Devine. For a long time, I came out with a jacket that said Jesus on the back. And like my moves were, you know, everything I did, like I pointed up to God. I did the sign of the cross as I walked out. Like I was basically this character that was using God to help him through this fight.
And I think it people knew that it wasn't a gimmick. People knew that you believed it, and I think that was very transparent in the matches.
Well, thank you. Well, and it was, and it's a show at the end of the day. But I just wanted to bring. There's one moment when I knew that I was doing the right thing. Well, first of all, the hilarious part, the joke was, if anyone's seen the movie Nacho Libre, it's my favorite movie of all time with Jack Black, where he's a luchador and a brother, a friar at the orphanage or whatever. So all the wrestling guys would always laugh at me because I would do the church and then the wrestling, and then people started calling me Nacho Libre because I was literally doing the Nacho Libre thing. Like I would go to work at the church and then I'd go and do my wrestling at night. And I always thought that was so funny because I'm like, good, that's who I want to be. I want to be the person that's known as the dude that does both. But I'll never forget it. The one day I knew for sure that at least I felt like God was with me, even in this thing that wasn't the churches. I was walking to the ring one show and I was high-fiving all the fans and stuff, and a kid that I'd never seen before, I like went to shake his hand, as you do when you're the good guy, and he shook my hand and he just said, "Hey, I love Jesus too." And that's I was awesome. Like, and I remember being like, heck yeah, like cool, because that one kid that said that one thing was the whole point of why I chose to not just be someone, be Danny Dangerous, I wanted to be, I wanted to bring my faith to this thing that I was doing. I wanted to be true to myself.
And maybe that's the only kid that you ever affected.
Maybe.
And probably not, but if that was the only kid that you ever affected positively in their faith, it was all worth it, and that's an amazing thing.
And I will say this: there's been a lot of time where like I've had like fans that come to the wrestling shows or students that I've had that like know what I do as far as like my outside of wrestling, and I've had people that'll message me like on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. They're like, "Hey man, I'm struggling with this. Like, do you have a scripture verse that you go to that can maybe help me through this? Like, I don't know anything about anything." Excuse me. And like I've always been like, yeah, here you go. Like, I'll keep you in my prayers or whatever. Like so it's cool to have been that kind of avenue for someone like that.
You kind of end up being the go-to guy.
Kind of. Yeah. And like before a lot of our big shows, because this wrestling is very dangerous. Like we're doing a lot of these crazy stunts and stuff like that. And
they do some pretty insane moves.
Yeah. Like people get hurt. And the owner of the company that I wrestle for, he would always want me to say a prayer with all the guys before the show, and there's more than half of them are part of that nuns group. They don't believe in nothing. Like they're just like, hey, like whatever. Mm-hmm. But like regardless, like I still prayed for them the same. I'm like, God, please keep everybody safe tonight and help us to live out this fun childhood fantasy that we're all doing and keep us safe. And so like regardless, I'm bringing my faith, even if it's not necessarily what people believe or want, like into this foreign environment. Like it's easy to pray in church, but I brought it out into this world that was not, where it's not comfortable. It's uncomfortable, but like I wanted to be this person who was like, no, but this is who I am and I'm going to bring it here anyway. I didn't want to be like, nah, like it's okay. We don't need to do that. Like we'll do, I pray on Sundays. Someone's like, Danny, like I know you pray. Like, will you do that? Like, heck yeah, I will. Like that's absolutely true.
Yeah. I think that's really great. Praying outside of mass when it's uncomfortable, like praying at the dinner table when you're out at a restaurant when everybody might be looking at you.
Yeah. Even if your server has to awkwardly be like,
yeah, that's always an amazing moment. Let's talk about this more. I'm just going to change out this camera really quick. All right, yeah. So like when a server comes at the dinner table, right, and everybody's praying, and they're like, wait, should I go? Should I stay? Is this
because I've had friends that are servers, and I know that like they say like once you drop off the food, it's like first bite or like first 30 seconds, you're supposed to go back and check on your table, right? So like I've just seen servers so many times where I'm like, everyone hold hands, and then they woke up and like, oh my God, and it's like, oh sorry, like would you like to join in? But it's just so funny.
Terribly awkward. I think, but again, like that might be an uncomfortable situation to pray at when you're out. But you do get used to it. I often go out with a group, and it's not a right time to pray, and maybe not everybody wants to pray with me.
Sure.
And they're all
maybe
talking.
You're in a mixed group of people.
A mixed group, and it's just not right to pray together
right.
For whatever reason. But I will still pray by myself once all the food comes, and again, that's not the most comfortable thing, but some people might like make a tiny little sign of the cross. I'm just like, boom, there it is. And I'll say a quick blessing to myself. And some people might notice, some people might not, but that's fine.
Yeah.
And it's about making that effort. And again, what's uncomfortable at first will start to get comfortable, and you'll get used to it, and it'll just feel like natural. So on that, again, I want to say, like, don't be afraid to go out into the world, get your hands dirty, and proclaim your faith, or just live your faith outside of church. So, for instance, 2 weekends ago, I went up to Seattle, Portland area with my brother for his birthday and a bunch of friends. And it was Sunday afternoon, and I hadn't been to Mass yet. I was planning on going Sunday evening, but I needed to find a Mass. And, we were still doing birthday events. Yeah, birthday events. We're in our upper 30s. It was his 40th birthday, so it's not like we're going crazy. But they wanted to go out and go to like a brewery.
Sure, and you had all kind of traveled and gathered together.
We were doing stuff together the whole weekend, and I said, you know what, guys, like, I need to go to Mass. And so I made them, as we went into the city, into Portland, I had them drop me off at a church, and they went out and they did whatever for an hour and a half. And then I met them, and we, continued on. But I think, it might have been an important moment for them to, like, maybe I just planted a seed that, like, oh wow, like, he took time out of this weekend when we're all doing our thing to make that effort to go to Mass.
Right. It showed that it was important to you.
It was.
Yeah.
But again, talking about going out and getting your hands dirty, I think Pope Francis says that, and he's a great example of that, is not being afraid to go out and mix with the culture and the society. And I think it's a fun analogy of everything kind of relates to music in my life.
Of course.
I love to listen to Air One Radio. It's like Christian radio.
Sure.
I think there's amazing stuff on there, and where we've come from, like 90s Christian music to now, I think is leaps and bounds.
Oh, absolutely.
It's stuff that's on there rivals regular music that you hear.
There's times
else.
Sometimes you can put on good Christian music and people are like, "This is a Christian song?"
Exactly.
And you're like, "Yeah, it is."
Exactly. Back in the day, it was like
oh,
I felt like there was a filter. Like, you finish a song and then you put a Christian filter on, and you're like, oh man, like
turn this
off. This is terrible.
Yeah.
But it's really good now. So I listen to a lot of Air One, a lot of Christian radio. I dig it, but that's not the only thing I listen to. I don't want to, just like in the church, you don't want to just live in this bubble. You don't want to live just in the church and just only pray the rosary in your room and go to Bible studies together. Like, you need to go out in the world. So I listen to rock, and I still, like we talked about this in another episode, I still love my metal roots. Listening to hard rock, listening to metal, listening to hair bands. I love like Def Leppard and like 80s hair metal and stuff. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. But when I listen to AC/DC Highway to Hell, I love that song. I don't believe that I'm on the highway to hell.
Right.
I don't believe that Freddie Mercury just killed a man in Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't have to believe all the lyrics that I have, but I love music for the art itself. And so just parallel that to the world is you can go out, you can mix with the society, you can mix with the culture, and you can bring your faith to whatever you have. So I go out and I actually play rock shows with some friends. We've done we've been like a wedding band before. I've done cover bands at pubs and stuff. And so we're playing all these songs, and I'm like the lead singer, and I play guitar and stuff, but I'm not believing it, but I'm living out my faith in how I present myself, how I carry myself before, after the show, and what I say during the show.
And you're standing firm in that faith.
Absolutely.
Like, just because the wind blows doesn't mean the tree falls over.
Correct.
Like, you're standing firm in your roots or in your faith. And, like, you can, be part of the world, but not of the world, I guess, in a sense.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Well, on that same exact note that we're talking about, let's go back to Jesus. Jesus himself, when he was here doing his ministry, he didn't sit in the temple and wait for everybody to come to him. That wouldn't have worked. Mm-hmm. He went everywhere. He traveled everywhere with his group of friends, trying to spread his good news, trying to spread the truth, trying to spread the message. He went out everywhere. So I think that we are being foolish if we just go sit in the church and go, hopefully people will come and hopefully people will listen. That is foolish, and that is not going to help the church to regain the people that we've lost.
Like, the Eucharist is enough. That's all we need. That should be it.
But here's the thing. You and I know that. Someone that loves the church and knows our theology and our history and has fallen in love with our faith, they know that the Eucharist is enough. Absolutely. But if someone has no idea, if I was to tell them, oh, well, just come because the Eucharist is there. I'm like, the Eucharist what?
Right.
Like, that's not going to, we're defeating ourselves already by almost like our arrogance. We need to go out and get them and show them the joy and the love of faith and the fulfillment that you can get in that Eucharist and help them to understand better what that is.
And it's going to be messy. It's going to be dirty. That's why we need to go out. And look at Jesus. You said Jesus. Jesus literally got his hands dirty. He was healing lepers. He put his hands in mud and water and healed the blind man. Like, I mean, that's literally. But he went out to the world. He went out.
So if you can, I'll quote one of my buddies that said this the other day. I was at a youth ministry meeting, and my friend Daryl, again, we'll quote him again. He said, "Tell me Jesus' address, and then I'll stop going out into the world to find people."
Oh man,
I was like, that was so awesome. I was like, yeah, like it fired me up. But it's absolutely true. Like, so when it comes to this faith in the secular world thing, like, here's how we deal with it. How do you live your faith in the secular world? Go take your faith out into it, and stay rooted in it. And don't let it move you. Don't let the world and everything that's getting shoved down your throat constantly with the movies and the hookup culture and all the different things that the world has provided, don't let that shake and rattle your faith. Bring your faith into those things. Use it as a shield. Use it as a sword, whatever, to fight back against it. And then bring as many people back with you as you possibly can. And when you feel defeated and when you feel like the world took over and you lost, then you rush back to church, you rush back to the Eucharist and let it recharge you and go back out there again.
That's incredible.
I just got fired up there. Sorry about that.
We are fired up. I was going to say, this podcast is going super long, but we are okay with that. Here's the thing. We've been trying to go like 25 to 35 minutes to keep them short, but we have heard from a lot of people. There's like two different types of podcast listeners out there. There's the people that want the 10 to 25 minutes,
quickies,
the quick ones. And there's the people that are driving to work, that are cooking dinner, that are doing whatever. They want like 1 to 2 hour podcasts. Yeah. So comment like what kind of podcast you like. Yeah. We're still experimenting with this format.
And we also know there's a lot of people that some people watch us and you're seeing us live on camera, but there's other people that are just listening to us too. So we're trying to be there for all our audiences on different platforms.
If you're watching, today, Danny's finally got a Screen T-shirt on that says "Faith Man, not Batman," and I'm rocking the man bun today.
Yeah,
my hair's so long.
People are gonna go turn into the YouTube. They're gonna be like, "What?
A man bun?" Yeah, I never thought that I'd get to this point in my life, but here I am.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just gets so unruly. But we are fired up about this.
We're fired up about that because man, like, I love the church. Like, the Catholic Church has been the biggest part of my life since I was born. You know, and I just want to see it continue to grow and thrive. And I feel like we can sit back and say like, the church is just what are we going to do? People aren't going to come. That just doesn't work for me.
Right. And it breaks my heart. You mentioned it earlier, seeing people not going to church, seeing the congregation diminish every Sunday. That breaks my heart. But are we just going to have a pity party for ourselves and say, oh, the Catholic Church is dying? Or are we going to go out and we're going to do something about it?
Absolutely. And that's what I mean. That's what I want to do. And if that means, like, go out and talk to people and talk about your faith every single day, even if it's uncomfortable. Like, you need to, don't put Jesus in a box. Take him with you in everything that you do. Let him be there.
So we talked about going out, and we mentioned this earlier. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about what we have. So we bring people into church. They're like, oh, come to Mass. It's great.
So what do we do when they're there?
What do we do when we're there? Okay, because I know a lot of times we get people fired up, especially kids. You tell the kids in your youth ministry or your confirmation, you got to come to Mass. Mass is what it's all about. And then they come and they're like, that wasn't so great. And that goes back to, what did I get about it? Or what did I get out of it, right? And we have to be able to change their mentality. But there are certain things that we could do to lift up our liturgies. Now,
absolutely.
The problem, I think, we're gonna talk about entertainment or entertainment culture, and we hinted on this earlier, is that everything in our society now is entertainment. It's coming with movies and advertisements and music, and you're bombarded by everything.
Yes.
And entertainment, the quality,
and instant entertainment. You have it on your phone.
You have instant entertainment everywhere you go, and the quality is phenomenal from where we came from. And so we're used to that everywhere we go. And then when we go to Catholic Mass, we're like, wait, where's that? Where are the lights? Where's all the shinies? Where are the videos? Where's all the interactivity? I don't get any of that. And I think that's why we're getting this mass exodus of people either leaving the church or going to Christian denominations where they have all those bells and whistles. They have the entertainment packages.
I see it especially in the young church, man. I've seen so many people that have gone through confirmation and then they're like, I stopped seeing them, and then the next thing I know, they're like being involved in some other church,
an evangelical denomination, because they're like, I feel something,
and I'm
here.
like, what the heck? Like, what did I like? How can I feel like sometimes I have failed. Like, how did I not keep you here? How did I not make the beauty of the Catholic Church and the Eucharist more prevalent to you?
Well, and it's good to take that ownership, but realize that it's not you, and we need to do this together as a community.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're going out and they're stealing our young kids because they're making it exciting. You could come in with your Pete's Coffee to what do they call it? It's not mass. It's just worship or whatever. But they have the screens going. They got lights. They have
engaging speakers,
engaging pastors that speak that are
people getting up and sharing
speakers.
Their testimonies.
They have worship bands that are unreal. We might have some of I have a couple friends that are in some of those worship bands that do just phenomenal jobs. We might bring them on future podcasts, but they're doing all these things that are drawing the people in, and we look at our Catholic Church and we say, well, we're still in our same tradition, and that's fine. And Catholic Church is amazing we're rooted in our traditions, but we were talking about earlier, can we take a little step forward to maybe not meet in the middle, but just do a little bit more? So what are the kind of things that we might be able to change, or just move a little bit towards that? And I'm not advocating for putting screens are one thing, but we don't need lights going crazy, and we don't need dramatic worship bands and stuff like that. Well, to a point, but there are things we can do.
I think that music is a big part of that, and I know that of course you'll always advocate for the music part, but I think that it's a huge part of it. There's times where music can really fire up your soul to really sing to God and be really present in that mass. Good music can really change an experience that you're having at mass, I think. Yeah.
So music, obviously, we're going to do an entire episode or episodes, definitely episodes liturgy. On music. So I don't want to get into that too much right now, but it is, in my opinion, one of the most important things that you could do. But I think it's when you're putting your money and your resources into things outside the liturgy, maybe some of those things are important, but liturgy should be the most important. We need to get people in there and get fired up about liturgy.
Right.
Make the worship space beautiful. Make your
and inviting. So have people greet people when they come in. Train your Eucharistic ministers and your ushers to be inviting to everyone, to do a great job. Make sure you are having the utmost respect and importance in music and preaching, and make the environment. So make sure your church looks beautiful. Those are things, just a few things. We're going to probably have episodes on each one of those, I would imagine. But you need to make that church beautiful and sounding great and looking great and inviting to everybody. Fully agree. And you know what? This may be bold, and I don't know, but I feel like I need to say it. Is I think that all of us, as the church, because we're the church, that's a building that we're talking about where mass is held. Mass is held in a building, but we're a church. We're the church, especially all of us that are heavily involved in our faith. We need to step our game up, from choir to just people that are lay people that are involved, to pastors, priests, whatever. We need to step our game up when it comes to the liturgies and making people feel invited and welcome to that liturgy. And because we can say all day again, Jesus is here right now. Absolutely he is. Absolutely, that's incredible. But if people don't know that and they don't understand the beauty of it, they're going to miss it. And it's our job to make it important. It's our job to show them. That's the whole purpose of being disciples. So we all need to step our game up. We need to step up our music. We need to step up our preaching. We need to step up our hospitality. We need to step up all that stuff and be better.
I think the last thing we'll touch on here is
getting so feisty today.
We're fired up about this one. Is talking about the Eucharist itself. And you said that a lot of people think, or say the Eucharist should be enough. We don't need all those bells and whistles. We don't need the flashing lights. We don't need all the drama. As long as we have Jesus there, that's enough. And in one aspect, yes, but in one aspect, absolutely not, because of what you just said. We're one Catholic Church, which means universal, and we need. I was at an event where somebody, it really drove me mad. They said, if every single Catholic in the world left, and it was just me and the Eucharist, that would be enough for me. And I went absolutely bonkers.
That's basically just saying everything that Jesus told you doesn't matter then. Right? Because like Jesus came down to form a community and to build a church. The Catholic Church is the church that Jesus started himself. The church, not you. It goes back to it's not about you.
It's not about you. And so the Eucharist, I think, there was this survey that just came out that said, I think it was roughly 60 to 70% of Catholics, not just overall people, 60 to 70% of Catholics do not believe in the real presence of Jesus Christ in the body and the blood of the Eucharist.
That's a crisis.
That's an absolute crisis. And why is that? And I was thinking, and this goes back to our faith in secular society. I think what happens is we have lost our sense of imagination. Now, I'm not saying you need to... it's not imagination that Jesus becomes the bread and body, but like
I get what you're saying. Seeing is believing.
Our faith, our culture wants to say, I didn't see it happen, so I don't think it happened.
Mm-hmm.
You go back to movies. Look at older style of movies, like especially in the horror genre, like Hitchcock. Or Jaws. Look at Jaws. Jaws left so much up to the imagination. You didn't see, well, it's because they didn't have the budget then, but
they had enough money for one shot with the shark.
But like what's often scarier in those movies is what you believe the bad guy or the bad thing is. In the horror movies, you never see them till the very end or something like that. And in our culture now, everything is there. You see him on the trailer.
Well, you look at It just came out, the clown movie. Right. He's on the poster. Everyone knows what he looks like.
Exactly.
I'm prepared. I'm prepared for that thing.
Right. And so it's not just the horror genre, but like
I get you.
Everything. Again, it goes back to instant gratification, but we've lost that. How many people are still readers? There's a lot out there, but like, why would I read the book when I can just watch the movie? You know,
that's really bad habit of mine.
Sure. And that's hard, and that's not your fault. That's our society that is driven, and myself included. I'm trying to become a better reader, but everything is visual. I can see it right now. I can, and it's immediate. And then when we go to church and we're told that this is the real presence of Jesus Christ, you're like, I don't believe it because I didn't see it. That's an issue. I think that's one of the reasons why we have that 70% figure.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes it's because like you can tell sometimes when people that are doing mass are just phoning it in. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like when the people that are supposed to be the examples of church the most and believe it the most are phoning it in, myself included. There's days where I walk up to communion like a zombie and I'm just like, okay,
amen. Yeah.
And I'm forgetting that like the beauty of it. And it's something I've actively been really trying to like better myself of, because like Jesus deserves my best, especially at Mass, and he's giving me this gift of the Eucharist. And yeah, I totally get what you're saying now.
Right. So that's a huge problem, and it's not going to be solved overnight.
No.
It's not going to be solved overnight, but it's going to take us to take responsibility. We can't just, again, have a pity party for ourselves and say, oh man, 70% of Catholics don't believe in the Eucharist. Everyone's leaving. Everyone's going to Catholic church or becoming nuns. What are we going to do?
I think go out and be living examples and bring them. Show them how much it means to you and your importance and your faith. That's what's going to inspire people, is the relationships and the faith that you're showing and living in the world. Right? Because you have to be that example to people and talk about it. Why do you, like, if someone says, why do you believe it is the real presence of Jesus? Be able to tell them, be able to explain to them, you know, why. And, you know, work on, you know, Bishop Barron brought it up, and I agree with it too, is we need to treat the Eucharist with more reverence. Those of us that know the truth, is go and when you're receiving communion, like, are you receiving it just like a zombie in line, or are you receiving it like for what it truly is? And for those that are Eucharistic ministers, like, there's times where I've gone to Mass and Eucharistic ministers just like, in the body of Christ, here you go. It's like, like, do you know what you're holding in your hands? Like what you're distributing, the gift that you have that you're distributing to this congregation, you know? And I think that if we all stepped up our game again, if we all made everything a bigger deal, it might help.
It would show people the importance of it.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay, so the gist of this is we are not going to change this world overnight.
Nope.
This secular society that we live in is not going away. It's going to get...
And it's going to keep going.
It's going to
the other direction.
It's going to keep going. It's going to keep ramping up or getting worse or whatever adjective you want to put in there. And it's about what we can do to either catch up or to help pull them back in the other direction or to help kind of meet in the middle or... just to show people the importance of what it means to be Catholic, what it means to live a life of faith, and to not be afraid of that secular society, not be afraid to get your hands dirty, not live in our little bubble, but go out there, like you said,
and don't be afraid to be wrong. Don't be afraid to not know all the answers and be like, I'm not going to talk about God because I don't know all the answers. You know, we can't all be Bishop Barron, who's the most intellectual guy who can go out and be an apologist and knows all the facts and all the rich history and all the theology, and he can speak to anything, and he's awesome at it. Not everyone is going to be that way. We certainly aren't.
Look, we're two guys that know not that much.
Not a ton.
And we've talked for almost an hour now.
Yeah, but like, talk about your faith. Like I said, this podcast is about faith and secular society. We're not going to change society. But what we can do is not let society change our faith and bring that faith to the world in everyone we connect with.
Yeah.
I think.
And you know, another way to connect with the world is to connect with us on all of our social media accounts. We talked about how bad social media is a lot of times, but follow us on all of our accounts.
I think that comes down to, that's one good thing that the church has done. There's tons of Catholic apps. There's tons of Bible apps. There's tons of different platforms that you can do. There's tons of great podcasts, not just our podcast, where they're talking about faith. And use social media to listen to those things too.
I think we're talking about meeting the secular world. That's a great way to do it. Yeah. You know, I heard somebody advocating for making Bishop Barron the bishop of the internet, because you know a lot of people complain that he is away from his duties in his Santa Barbara region.
I would argue that I think that his work on the internet and does more work than a lot of the bishops that are sitting in their regions.
Absolutely.
And sorry if that's offensive to people, but I think it's true.
I think it is too,
especially in the world we're talking about today.
How many people can you reach? You know, traveling from one church to the other, or putting out your word on the internet for, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of people to hear. And
we talked about Bishop Barron because he opens himself up to such criticism, because you have to be able to do that. If you're going to talk about your faith, get ready you're going to take some fire.
Correct.
You know, but it comes down to, do not let it shake you. Do not let it rattle you. Stand firm in your faith.
Yeah.
You know?
So find those all those other Catholic platforms on social media. You got Word on Fire. I love listening to the Catholic Talk Show. Catholic Stuff You Should Know is really good.
Two Catholic Dudes.
I heard a lot of good stuff about that. So you can find us on all of our social media platforms, on Instagram at _Two Catholic Dudes. We got Facebook, Twitter. We're trying to step that up, but please connect with us on there, and we might start chatting more with you guys.
You can follow us on our individual ones as well. Ryan does a lot of Psalms on RyanClouseMusic. I do a lot of just gospel reflections. I do my Monday thoughts, where I talk about just things that are on my heart when it comes to faith, at Danny Cleary YM. So
we got Patreon. We have a couple members, and we're looking for more. So please don't be afraid to support us financially. We appreciate each and every one of you that will be our patrons. So that's patreon.com/Two Catholic Dudes. We thank you so much for your support.
Yeah.
And, you know, we just look forward to keeping this channel growing, keeping the connection together. So comment on the YouTube link itself. That would help us find on the algorithm. It helps people find our channel. So please keep the conversation going on there. Tell us what you like. Did you like that we went just about an hour? Would you like us to go shorter? Would you like us to go longer?
Yeah.
Would you like us to get more fired up? Because we
can get fired. I got fired. I feel good though.
I feel really good. So let us know what you're feeling about this podcast. Please please share it with your friends. That's the only way we're going to continue to grow and reach more people. Share us with your favorite. Put the link on Bishop Barron's or on all of our other favorite podcasts.
Tag Bishop Barron. We talked about him a lot today. So.
Yeah, let him know.
He's our dream guest.
Maybe you don't have a voice to. You feel like your calling isn't to make your own podcast or to put yourself on social media, but maybe help out the little guys out there. So we appreciate that.
Yeah. As we close this podcast today, it's on my heart to just to say a prayer. I think on air. Mm-hmm. I want to just pray, and if anyone that's listening or watching, whatever, please pray with us in this moment. I just want to pray for our faith in our church and our world as we close. If that's cool, cool with you, bro?
Let's do that.
All right. So let's just center ourselves for a second, and just in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Father God, we thank you for the gift of this platform, of our podcast, of all of our listeners, of all of our brothers and sisters in Christ, that we can not be afraid to take our faith out into this world, to use our faith as armor, to use our faith as tools to inspire the hearts of people that have fallen away, to not be afraid to leave our comfort zones, to fight back against what the world is telling us, so that Jesus is the center and our faith is the center, that the Eucharist is the center of our heart. God, give us that courage to inspire the hearts of all the people that have fallen away. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
So thank you guys for listening, as always.
Thank you. Two Catholic Dudes, episode 8. That's a wrap.
All right. See ya.